Hey y'all, Kenny here with my Thompson Center Contender in 35 Remington. Thanks for joining me. I took my first handgun buck with this pistol last fall. I'm a late bloomer to handgun hunting, but better late than never, I suppose. I used this hand-loaded 200 grain Sierra round nose bullet to take that buck at about 100 yards. While the bullet got the job done, I do think it is a little bit thick-skinned. For the velocities that I'm firing it at. I think the perfect bullet for this pistol would be somewhere between this and an actual pistol bullet. I have this box of 180 grain XTPs that I bought to load in my 357 Maximum. I haven't gotten around to that project yet, but I wondered, would these bullets work in the 35 Remington? So I went up on the mountain and asked old man Google. Got a couple of yays, a whole lot of nays. I think the nays were based on speculation and not practical experience. Everybody looks at the label on this box. It says 1,500 feet per second max velocity, but that's on every XTP box, so you can disregard that. I found a chart that I had saved that listed the max velocities for all the XTP bullets, and this is a document from Hornady, and for this bullet it's 1,825 feet per second. I looked on Hodgdon's website and found load data for this bullet in the 357 Maximum, and they're saying 1,875 is their max load. That's getting closer to where I want to be with a 35. So there are two questions here that I need answered. This bullet measures 357. The bore of the 35 Remington is 358, so will it be accurate? And two, will it stand up to the velocities that I want to fire it at? Load data for an XTP bullet in 35 Remington is non-existent, so I used load data for the Sierra 180 grain round nose bullet, and I loaded what was a mild load, I thought. My velocity surprisingly was 2050. There were no pressure signs there, but I didn't think the bullet would hold up at that kind of velocity. So I loaded a couple more rounds, got it down to 1950, and I decided to do a 3-shot group just to accuracy test it. So the group was at 100 yards. So it passed the accuracy test. It does like the bullet. The question now is, will the bullet hold up at 1,950 feet per second? My concern is bullet blow up at close range. So I set up my homemade ballistic test at 50 yards to see how it would perform. So I'm not going into a lot of detail here because I have a full-length video doing these tests. The link is in the description if you want to check that out, but there are 2 gallon jugs filled with wet rags, and then the rest of these jugs have sand. I put a piece of cardboard in there. Normally the bullet won't penetrate past that first jug. You can see the dent in the cardboard, but I put that in case it did to make it a little easier to find the bullet, because I've shot these jugs several times. So right there is the bullet. A little hard to get a hand on. So it completely separated. I don't like the fact that the core separated from the jacket. I consider any bullet that does that in this test to be a failure. I did find the core intact, and when I put the two together, they weighed 150 grains, so weight retention was not that bad. The bullet did make it through the first jug and almost exited, and that is typical of the performance I see with most any cartridge in this test, even when the bullet stays together. So I'm not sure at what point this core fell out of the jacket. Still, I have reservations about this bullet at close range, maybe in heavy muscle, whether or not it would just blow up and not penetrate. So I may try this out on a coyote. I get an opportunity this fall before I shoot a deer with it. Again, I'm just not comfortable with that. I did reduce the velocity down to 1800. That's when I really got a bullet to stay together good and retain its weight. This one weighs 165 grains, so it looks pretty good, well expanded, but I don't want to emasculate my 35 Remington for the sake of a bullet, so I may do a little more research and see what other options I have. I read once that if you fill the cavity on a hollow point bullet, that it'll perform like a flat nose. It seems that hydraulic pressure inside the cavity is what opens the bullet. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it does sound like an interesting experiment, doesn't it? So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.